Sunday, we're going live. Just check we're live on LinkedIn. So this is our podcast. We're streaming it live when we record it. So if you're watching this, if you're up, you can listen in, but also you can catch this clearly on all the podcast channels and on YouTube later as well. So here we go. Hi, this is the AI Assisted Organization podcast hosted by myself, Piers Linney, and my co-host and co-founder of Implement AI, Dr. Alok Shukla.
Morning, Piers. How are you?
Got a bit of a tan, Alok, looking good.
Yeah, it's nice and sunny before my week in London. So yeah,
I'm in the northwest, so it's a bit cloudy here. We've got quite a lot to get through again. The pace of change never seems to slow down, does it? So the main things are we're not really traveling much this week. What we do have, Alok he's going to London. We have some events, so a couple actually. So the big one that we're putting on ourselves is a live event. That's on Tuesday, 6 p.m. and it's in association with Homegrown. It's the sort of leading sort of business private members club, really. And that's near Mayfair, near Marble Arch in central London, if you can get there. If you want to watch the footy, there's a big screen. You can watch it afterwards as well. So try and join us down there. We're going to be talking about what we're talking about today, which is our theme as well, is putting AI to work. Okay, so all well and good learning about it. What is it? What does it do? How does it work? The question is now, how do I use it to generate a return on investment in my business? And then there's another event we're doing the following day. No, it's 27th, isn't it, actually, which is Thursday, which is with Be the Business. So if you haven't seen it yet, go and just Google Be the Business. We'll try and put the link in the YouTube. And basically, they released a report, and it's about UK. Be the Business focuses on business SME productivity in the UK. And they released a report focused on how AI can impact SME productivity in the UK. And I was honoured to be asked to write the foreword for that. So we've got an event about kind of the report, really. I'll be doing a bit of a keynote. But then myself, Alok and I, and some others, will be running workshops. So if you want to know, again, how to put AI to work, how to use it to increase your business productivity, I think it's actually sold out, but we'll try and get some information on that. It's sold out. And share it. But our event's not sold out yet. There's a few places left.
So a few, but they need to register on the link. They need to register on the link, basically. So,
yeah, there's a link on our. We'll have to put it on the show notes.
Put it on this post on LinkedIn and the show notes as well, basically. So
yes, Alex posted quite a few things, and I'll repost it today. And there's a link there to register. And the theme today is about putting AI to work. We're going to talk through some use cases. How can you use it right now to create a return on investment? So first, as always, we're going to go for some AI business news. We don't really focus on just general consumer AI news. We try and find things that are relevant to you as a business. Some of it is sort of background and helps you understand the direction of travel of this technology. And the big news, really, and again, you may have heard this already, but NVIDIA has become the world's most valuable company. So it's been valued at 3.35 trillion. I'm not sure what it's valued at today. It's probably gone up again. And the news here really is not that NVIDIA is an extremely valuable business. We've talked about that before. It's about the value of this technology. Now, things can get overhyped. There might be this. We talked about the trough of disillusionment before, but we don't seem to be seeing it at all with this technology yet. And NVIDIA has been driven by demand, purely demand, really. Not for, it's got its own technology, like Omniverse, but also just for its GPUs. These are the chips that people currently prefer to run AI on. Lots of people are trying to build their own chips now, including some of the big players. But it's just a real sort of line in the sand, really. It's a real flag going up saying you really need to take notice of this technology, because even if you're not aware of it in your day-to-day or even in your business yet, the winds of change, the demand is there, and somebody somewhere is buying a lot of these chips. Hence why, Jensen Huang's company is now more valuable than Microsoft and Apple.
A good way to think about it is that, like, you've got like the energy companies like producing electricity, and obviously everything these days is like plugged into electricity. We all understand that. Same thing with Wi-Fi, you know, like all of the telecoms communicator companies, you know, everyone's plugged into that. So then we know that those have values, but they have like almost maxed out kind of at their kind of limits until now. And then now with AI, everyone's plugging intelligence. So that's like a new utility you need to keep drawing intelligence from, and that's fueling this growth. So if you think about like the amount of AI that's going to be put into all software, AI agents, robotics, it's going to be huge because basically the world is going to be reimagined over the next 5 years with intelligence baked into everything, essentially.
Yeah, and it fridges, everything, every phones now. You see Apple Intelligence we talked about. We'll touch upon later.
Like toasters.
So the demand for this technology is enormous. So moving on, so that's kind of the big news really in terms of the market. If you can hear seagulls, it's because I'm near the coast. So another one, which is going to affect us all eventually, and it probably affecting you now, is talent. So AI enabled, I want to call it that, talent. People understand it. Not necessarily just technologists, although this report was really about technologists, but people that can run your business or work for you, but understand how to leverage themselves and how to automate processes and workflows to create more value. So the AI boom has actually elevated European universities. Now, you would have thought it would have been the US. I'm sure, you know, the Stanford and Harvards, all the usual suspects, are seeing a sort of a rise in sort of talent and interest. But you're seeing universities like Cambridge, ETH in Zurich, the Technical University in Munich, they're kind of leading the charge. And what they're doing there is offering AI programs. So a lot of these universities have realized that there's a huge opportunity here for them. So they're creating programs, you know, around the arts or STEM subjects, but they're kind of bolting onto AI modules to make people more aware of this technology, especially on the technical side. On the technical side, what you're going to see in business is an increasing sort of clamor for this kind of talent. Now, there isn't a lot of it. You know, most people have rebranded themselves. The chief AI officer doesn't always mean they have all the skills they need to have to be a chief AI officer. You're seeing that, you know, coding, we've all talked about it quite a lot, is kind of going away, really. So you want people who can innovate, they can architect, they understand product, they understand the customers and how to sort of bring this technology all together and go to market. And the talent pool is growing, but I'm guessing it's not going to grow fast enough to deal with the demand out there.
And the pricing, the accessibility. If you think about it, like pretty much
pricing.
All of the tasks, it's not just pricing, it's also guidance. You know, like a junior person coming out of it might have great technical knowledge, but they have no understanding of business processes or how it needs to integrate and, you know, what the things are within there. This is actually like quite challenging because all businesses have to keep running, they have to keep growing, and they have to integrate these new technologies so they don't kind of have a cost structure which is untenable and different things like this. So what they kind of need to understand is like, up until now, all tasks, all goals, all roles have been run by people essentially. And the amount of automation in most businesses is not very much, basically, right? It's limited to a few things, maybe with some emails, some opt-ins, but not much more than that with most businesses. Let's call it mid-market businesses, basically, right? Like, what you got now is
but
that
most automation, like you said, is sales pipeline manager, isn't it? And you know,
yeah, or you got massive enterprises with like huge amounts of like, you know, purchase level authorization or whatever like this, but that's like a completely different thing. Or like, you know, financial transactions for huge banks on like reconciliation. But those tended to be like, you know, huge projects outside the scope of mid-market, you know, small medium businesses, which is where we're talking about. So for example, now most entrepreneurs have got like at some point where they've got enough employees, they've got a HR department, right? But where's their AI department? Where's their AI resources, basically, right? Some of these people are going to need to be, you know, from these universities would be useful within some of these places, but there's going to be a huge demand where, you know, to get more work done and stay competitive in a land of rising costs, you're going to have to integrate these things. So I agree, talent has to align to the needs of what's required.
And again, we've said this a lot, is that if you're trying to recruit, you know, this talent of the future, they're going to expect to be augmented, right? They're not going to expect to turn up at work and be giving a load of dross and mundane tasks to do an admin. They're going to expect you, or at least it's going to be part of their job, to automate that out of existence.
Or
so, you know, not augmenting your workforce is going to be a competitive disadvantage.
Agree. Also, it could be very expensive for you because let's say you didn't do that and they're on quite a high salary and they spend 3 hours doing something that could have been done in 20 minutes with AI. You've paid 3 hours of salary for really nothing, essentially, isn't it? Right? You know, so
well, I think increasingly, if they're good, they're going to go and work somewhere else.
True. You know, like
I think that's the outcome. So we'll keep an eye on that. The talent shortage, it's only going to get worse. So, you know, we want to make sure you can recruit that talent, or you're developing it internally, and that's training essentially. So moving on, so Microsoft. So we talked a lot about multimodality, and again, this is things like AI can use almost all the human senses, not quite touch or smell yet, all that's coming, but especially visual. So you can now see things and understand almost anything. I mean, when I do demonstrations, I take a picture of the room usually, and I describe how the large language model, what it sees, how it describes the room, and it blows people's minds. But what you're now seeing is not just these generalist models that can do that. You're seeing the specialist models that are designed purely for this task. So Microsoft has dropped, I don't know where they get these names from, but Florence 2 model. And this is a unified AI model designed to handle various vision tasks. So it can perform a range of functions, image recognition, visual understanding, and streamlining processes. So this must be very good, because the generalist models themselves are pretty good. So you're now seeing that the robots, we talked about this last week, they can understand the built environment, they can understand what's in a room, they can understand what a glass is, so they can go and pick it up. That used to be very, very complicated to do, and the general models are very good at it. So these models must be very powerful, and we haven't been able to use this one yet. But you're seeing more and more. I mean, what do you think, Aloy? It's going to end up being generalist models or specialist models,
I
or
think there'll be local models, basically, isn't it? Right. I think increasingly there's going to be like smaller local models, which will be on hardware devices or in different areas. So it reduces the cost of ongoing processing potentially, but also increases the speed. I'll give an example. I saw like a security camera, basically, which was it's not really a security camera. It was like a camera in a cafe, basically, and it was overseeing the kitchen and the counter. And what it was doing is it was showing all the people, like the baristas that were making the coffee, but it had a number next to them. You could see how many coffees they'd made, basically, right? And it was updating in real time. Like, he's done, this person's done 6, this one's done 2, and how many customers were waiting at the thing. So all of this kind of intelligence is going to require like localized models and potentially like vision models, which will be cheaper, faster, and run locally in the system potentially as well. So I think there's going to be, for this intelligence explosion, for intelligence to be everywhere, you're going to need to have like things which become a bit subspecialized, which makes sense, really, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, you probably have this mixture of expert architecture, where there'll be a generalist one, a bit like the human brain, really, but there'll be certain parts of that model, or it'll reach into a different model when it needs some specialist expertise or capability.
It's like our own cells, like the ones in our eyes, for example, they're light sensitive, right, compared to like the skin cells or something else like this. So it's just going to be evolving that way.
So that's an interesting one. So we'll keep track of that, see if we can get our hands on it and use it. Another big one is in this constant battle, this race, this arms race between the capability, speed, number of tokens. You've now seen that Claude, which is Anthropic's model, which we do use quite a lot. I use it quite a lot for document creation. Claude 3.5 has been launched, and this is 3.5 Sonnet, which is it's the biggest, most powerful model. And this is really saying that this model, and I've heard a few people tell me this already, actually, that it's very advanced in terms of reasoning, coding, and also understanding data and producing data and graphs, and but it's a data visualization. So it's a really powerful new model, and apparently it's up there with ChatGPT 4 Omni 4.0. So I've been using and playing with it, so it's hard to see on the periphery sometimes what the difference is. But if you haven't used Claude, Anthropic's Claude, definitely go and have a go and try and use it, especially for understanding documents, writing documents, and try some of its data analytics.
Yeah, no, I agree. And basically this new artifacts function is almost like its code interpreter, basically, right? And it can, I've seen examples of it where it will code the snake game immediately for you, and it responds very well to make it better, make this better, or make it more improvement. And it can keep doing that, basically. So, we're just scratching the surface of these capabilities, basically.
And they test these things, like Ella was saying, like can if you give it a game, can it write the code in one shot? And they're getting better at doing this. So apparently this is twice as fast as Claude 3, which is only launched like earlier this year. So that's incredible in terms of its
cycle of improvement.
Yeah, it's incredible in terms of the speed, advanced reasoning. Again, we mentioned it a moment ago with Microsoft. They've enhanced its computer vision capabilities. So it's got sophisticated computer vision capabilities. It can process and analyze visual inputs, images, charts, and documents. So understanding a room is one thing. Understanding a chart, what it means, why it looks like that, why that chart was chosen, what the data behind it means, what it's trying to tell you, that's extremely useful. We've got clients actually who they pay a lot of money to data scientists. It takes 2 weeks into the cycle to get the answer. And they might have asked the wrong question, whereas now increasingly you can do that yourself. Moving on, again, in the other sort of arms race, which I'm not going to dwell on this too much, Leonardo AI has now launched Phoenix. So you've got, Mid-Journey, you've got the Chat GPT. There's many models that can create images. And Leonardo is a pretty good one, actually. And we've talked about, text to video as well. So these, again, they're all racing. Now, the thing really is to use them all. Find the one that tends to work for the way you work and the kind of images you want to create. Some can create extremely realistic images. Some you can tell it's kind of an AI in a way, sort of around the edges. So just use them all and find the one that works best for you, the way you work, or for that particular use case in your business. Some are free, some aren't. And then really another one which kind of comes on from last week, and this is the last piece of news we're going to do, is Apple Intelligence. So massive, noise about Apple Intelligence is being launched. It's not quite as simple as that. So when you start putting AI into phones, of which there are billions, littering the world in all sorts of jurisdictions and countries, it's not that straightforward. So Apple seemed to be slowing down the rollout of their Apple Intelligence in the EU over regulatory concerns. So they're already being kind of looked into, a bit like Microsoft were many years ago, in terms of competition authorities. This is the European Digital Markets Act, which was basically enacted reasonably recently. And the DMA requires tech companies to be sort of gatekeepers and to make changes to operations to ensure that there can be fair competition. So if you're now launching artificial intelligence embedded into your operating system, they can do things that other people can't. What does that do for competition? And what does that do in terms of data protection, privacy, cybersecurity? Lots of issues there. And the other one really is, which is a huge one, which I hadn't really thought of now. Now you mention it, it makes obvious sense, is China. So one of Apple's largest markets, although it has some stiff competition, is China. And, it's highly unlikely that the Chinese authorities are going to let a US company roll out a phone with artificial intelligence built into it. Given what the US government is currently doing to ByteDance in terms of a TikTok.
Agree.
You might have you might have a bit of a sort of a standoff there in terms of allowing this technology. So Apple's route to deploying Apple Intelligence globally isn't as clear cut as one might think. Right, that's it for the news, really. There's lots of other news, but it's all kind of around the edges. This is more related to business. So what do we do? So we've got our event on Tuesday. We've got the event on Thursday we mentioned. Look online, look at Alok's post and my post about the event on Tuesday, Central London, near Marble Arch, 6 p.m. You can watch the football afterwards if you want. We're going to talk about putting AI to work. Sign up for our AI.
The event is
it's just for an hour. So we'll be in and out. And I'll tell you something. Some of the stuff we've been doing and testing and working on with clients on is mind-blowing. So you are going to learn something by turning up, and you're going to see things you've never seen before. And I don't mean Alok's presentations. It's far more exciting than that, isn't it, Alok? So we've got some. We've been at the kind of the cutting edge really, and Alok's been testing a lot of our capabilities, especially voice agents as well, different kinds of agents, with actual real world outbound and inbound calls, so we can analyze how people interact with these agents. And I'm telling you, come down 6 p.m. 1 hour Tuesday night near Marble Arch, our homegrown, and your mind will be blown. So sign up for our AI Insider newsletter. We got our one yesterday. We'll send it out again today. So this is basically a newsletter we send out. It's similar to a podcast in a way, but we talk about some AI news, and it kind of evolves during the week. But also, what we do and the latest that we're learning actually by working with clients and experimenting with putting AI to work into SMEs. So that's really quite a useful newsletter in terms of having strategic insights. AI training, so we do a lot of that. So again, your first superpower is understanding this technology, because that means you can embrace it. It means your team then can opportunity spot in terms of how to use it and what can be automated. So training is the first stage really of any AI implementation. And that's both for your senior leadership team, so leveling everybody up so you understand what the hell you're talking about, but also for your team, from top to bottom basically. And then we're also launching some new literature, white paper maybe, on what we call intelligence AI automation, which is basically what we do. So it's basically helping you to automate your business, automate workflows, processes, to grow revenue, to reduce costs, to reassign people so they can do more meaningful work, and to automate the mundane.
And it's not just the mundane. Also, like people think that automation might
I
be
will say
something
that.
like, yeah, it might just be. People might think automation is like things which don't require intelligence. We're talking about getting work done, getting like complex things done sometimes without a person in a repeatable way.
Well, and also doing things that humans just can't do in terms of the pace, the
or in volume
productivity,
or
the
speed.
efficiency, and volume, speed. Yeah, exactly. A lot of the agents, we have interactive agents, like a human in the loop, and embedded agents where they're just in the background doing their thing. They can be completely autonomous. And lots of those agents, especially, just do things that humans cannot do.
Yep.
So, brings us neatly onto how AI agents are revolutioning business. This is our theme this week, introducing AI agents, and we're going to go through, or Alex's going to go through some of the actual use cases.
Yeah. So like, let's just take a kind of like a step back for right now. You're a business owner, right? So it all depends on like how much revenue you're generating every day, what your costs are, and can you stay ahead? Can you generate, and keep enough profit that you can reinvest and grow and kind of go from there? Like that's the basic, right? Like nobody's looking at like, spending lots of money in, upgrading facilities, doing different things, all that kind of stuff, without proof of things working potentially, right? So you want to almost approach any kind of new project or any kind of new development in a kind of like stage by stage way. But what we're talking about is like how AI can actually help you grow your business, unlock sales, and what are the highest ROI areas for AI? Like that's the kind of key thing. So why don't we just start looking at things in a very basic level? So let's talk about, contacting people on our database.
Well, just go back, Alex. Go back to, because not everybody will understand it. And what is an AI agent?
Okay, so an AI agent, as you said, is essentially an AI that does work. It completes tasks in your business. It does things, it completes things. And one version could be an interactive agent where it can talk with customers on the phone, on WhatsApp, by email in different ways and things like this. Or another one could be working with one of your employees and helping them co-draft a document, analyze particular documents, and come up with reports for them. So again, it's almost like an assistant in that way. Or it could be a full agent. On the other side is embedded. So what that could be is like, for example, every time a client email comes in, it can analyze, read the email, download the attachment, start preparing a report, or filling out, the CRM details, or chasing down an email for someone like this. So again, it can start to do more of these different things from that side, or it can be in your database, spotting for a variation. Like if sales have dropped from one of your stores, it can alert you straight away. Or if you need to calculate something to kind of like do with like birthday reminders for customers or different things like this, it can do those things and then coordinate that to a different agent who will then contact the customer basically, right? Or send out a letter or do different things. So these are intelligent entities in your business that can do tasks. And the question is, where are the highest ROI places to put them? Is that right?
Yeah, so I think the way to think about it, which you often say, is you've got your human payroll, and you're going to have a virtual worker kind of payroll
AI role.
cost, essentially, an AI role. And what they're going to do for the foreseeable future, at least, is augment humans. So even embedded agents, at the end of the day, what they're doing is augmenting humans because they're doing things and producing reports, analyzing data. But at some point, a human's going to use that data. Eventually, we'll move to more autonomy. But essentially, think of it like that: is how do you augment and superpower your human resource with AI agents?
I mean, this one of the simple ways, actually, one business that we're talking with, they have 100 people making outbound phone calls, right? And AI can then help them scale up the number of outbound phone calls without hiring more people potentially, But let's talk about the highest ROI areas for a business, right? So if we're talking about driving sales, driving revenue, for example, most businesses know the importance of having a database. They've got their lead capture on their website. They're capturing the number, they're capturing the phone, the email, they're capturing what they were interested in, all that kind of stuff. But some businesses, when they've got big markets, they might have got lots of inquiries a certain time, and they may think that their salesperson or team members followed up with it, but they're busy. They've actually got other things to do as well. And so they may not have actually called or followed up with that person, or they might have called that person, but they didn't get around to them because not everyone answers the phone first time. So you've got a massive database of people who could still be interested in your service. So opportunity one would be what we call a reactivation campaign. And what that is basically going through your list and seeing, are you still looking to get a new kitchen? Are you still looking to get a new roof? Are you still looking to straighten your teeth? Are you still looking to get that bathroom extension? Are you still looking to whatever, basically, it doesn't matter what you're...
And just on that, and that's probably going to use old structured data, email, first name, last name, blah, blah, blah. But as you start to interact with them using AI, you start to capture unstructured data, like just general conversation, essentially, be it on chat or be it voice. And that's information you can then use about who they are, what they think, what their mood they're in, what they're doing at the time, what the hobbies are. It becomes, you start to enrich your data set.
Exactly. So we'll show examples on Tuesday, but we've seen AIs where it's called people that inquired about a roof at a show in the past. The team members never got around to actually following up with them, and it finds out, okay, they've got their planning permission. They're looking for it within 3 months. They want a call back, or they prefer Thursdays for the site survey. I mean, that's gold dust, right? I mean, if you're for a salesperson, the only 2 times are basically now or future, essentially, isn't it, right? So you want to know, who do I need to contact this week? And if they've already told you as well, like, all the details, then the team member that follows up, it's easy for them, basically, because they can say, yes, my team member told me you've got this, you got that, all that kind of stuff. And it can do it in a large number. So that's one example, like as a reactivation campaign, basically,
I think when we started deploying AI agents for our clients, there's a bit of a focus on kind of inbound, like support. But what's fascinating is the capability of these agents to make outbound phone calls. Now, you're not going to ask it to then close some complicated sale, and ring some customers, but now on the phone. But in terms of triage, reactivation, just going for a big data. We've got one client, they have a huge amount of data, new data, old data, and just want to churn through it and just find out who's relevant, who is actually a prospect. They can then get maybe a human to follow up, a much smaller list of people that are more likely to convert, and find out and try and qualify them. So that in itself can save a huge amount of time. These things can make 5, 10, 15 concurrent calls. They can make 100 phone calls in 20 minutes, not a day. And the 100th call will be, and this is one thing I've noticed in our agents, is as polite and as persistent as the first call. They don't have bad days.
Yeah, and don't misunderstand, like Peter saying triage. These agents can answer in technical questions in a very detailed way if we add in a knowledge base and all the different stuff like this. And I'm actually, frankly, impressed, and I think it actually outperforms many people because it doesn't get down, it keeps going, it stays on track in that kind of way. So that's a reactivation campaign, right? Let's look at other opportunities, right? Imagine you've got a business and you've got like a known list of target customers. So let's say, for example, you provide a particular service and they have to have a building in order to service it, and you're only servicing buildings of a certain size. In your geographic area how many visible customers there are, basically, right? So they're not going to change over time. So the question is, how can you break into that market? So you need to find decision makers. So you need to know who is the potential facilities manager, or who is the purchasing person, or who is the whatever like this, and what other solutions are they using right now, and what could they do? This is where AI could be very good as a reconnaissance agent, almost to do research by phoning up all these places, finding out, do you have this? Like, do you have this machine in your place? Or are you looking, do you currently have a supplier for this? Or who is your purchasing manager for that? And this AI can basically be thought of as part of a longer term campaign, let's say a 3-month campaign, to identify the best places to contact and sell to. And step one, what it can do is find out who the decision maker is, who is the person that leads the purchasing, what other suppliers they're using, how are they doing things. And the AI is very good at this. And what I found as well in a completely different, unrelated area is when you're dealing with kind of businesses which are not like, I don't know how to put it, like they're providing essentially complex services or different things like this, they're looking for ways to save money. So they're open to these different things. They're looking for different opportunities. So it's not a question that they're not receptive to it. They are, and they'll give you the details, because if they can save money, you're helping them. So don't think that people are not looking to kind of engage. So you can use this as a way to almost build out your list of like targeted, validated places to kind of engage with, almost as like a research campaign, essentially.
Another one, following up inquiries immediately. So I always say, if you've got a potential inquiry, it could be WhatsApp, could be the web, it could be on the phone, whatever it is, and somebody's missed it, who's more likely to win that customer or that contract? It's the person that follows up the fastest and adds the most value as quickly as possible. What the AIs can do is, if you imagine a phone conversation, for example, well, it doesn't have to be voice, it can be chat, it can be WhatsApp, it can be email, it can be web form, whatever, but it can follow up immediately, understand what the client situation is, understand how you might be able to sell something to them or work with them, and then immediately, and I mean immediately, send them a report or a proposal by WhatsApp, email, or even talk it through on the phone. So that's something that if you're doing that and your competition isn't, who's more likely to convert that customer?
Exactly. So for example, imagine someone's looking to get a new kitchen or a new bathroom, and then they fill out the form. I bet they've got 6 different other browser tabs open with 6 other kitchen companies, basically, right? And on a Saturday afternoon, they're submitting all these different ones because they need to kind of do it. And if one of them is calling them back and saying, hey, thanks for inquiring, can you tell me more about what you're trying to do? And he says, like, look, we're trying to redo our kitchen, we want to do this, we want to have like this. One thing is space is a limitation or whatever like this. And if the AI took all that information, so people aren't going to type all that information, right? But they will explain it verbally in a very nice way. You can assess their sentiment, how motivated they are. And you can also say, hey, could you send me a couple of photos of the interior of your kitchen right now? And maybe, some further direction on what you're looking for. The AI could then WhatsApp them a message, and then it could receive the photos. So then your team member on Monday is going to have not just the email opt-in, but the photos as well, and the full context of what that person wants. So then when they follow up, it's like, okay, hi Kevin, my team member Rachel, she told me that you're looking to change your kitchen, you understand these parameters about the changing, and she also showed me some photos of your place as well. So I saw that you've got this style of fridge, but you wanted a larger fridge. Here's some of the options. How much more likely is that company going to be, because they're already 4 steps ahead of the company that's the other on the 5 browser tabs where they've just submitted a name and email, basically, right? And I don't know what it is like for your experience. Like, I'll give an example. I have a task I need to get done on Monday, and I contacted like 6 joiners, for example, right? To find out someone that could do it. And then the first one that answered to me, and I answered back, and then I sent a WhatsApp photo. Can you do this? They said yes. I wasn't looking at the other ones. Like, I was just happy it's solved, basically, right? So speed is everything, and follow up in this kind of way, basically.
And I think that also works for abandoned carts as well. So similar sort of process, but just literally reaching out to customers quickly, efficiently, professionally, providing them with answers, providing them more information, providing them support they need, is incredibly powerful. And again, this can be multimodal. You can do it in lots of different ways, but a lot of the ways our clients are preferring actually is using voice, because that's how humans like to interact.
Correct.
Increasingly, that's how we're going to look at Apple Intelligence, right? That's how we're going to interact with technology going forward. So, and it's interesting, isn't it? The sort of the science of it really is that once a human has started a conversation, and in their mind they've decided they're talking to a human, and regulation might make you have to disclose this in the future. Once they decide this is human, most people don't want to be rude, they don't want to be impolite, they might want to get off the phone, but they're willing to give a bit of information. And these AIs, like I said, they're polite, they're incredibly persistent, and through that persistent brute force, often they'll extract that one nugget of information which you didn't have before, which makes it easier for a human potentially to then follow up and try and convert.
Exactly. It's a team member, right?
Yeah,
just like you don't say, like, I don't know, essentially like gender and stuff like that, right? It could be like, it's a team member, isn't it? One of our team members, basically, right?
Yeah, and one thing we've seen a lot of people say, oh yeah, we've got AI agents, you can click it and install in your company like an app, right? It's complete nonsense, right? Think of these things just like your human resource, your colleagues, essentially. When you bring someone into your business, right, you have to onboard them. Yeah, exactly. You got to train them. You need to understand your policy, your tone of the voice, the way you do things, the way you talk to customers, where your data is, how you use it, what piece of literature should go to what kind of customer, what your ICP looks like,
what your analysis agents looks like.
Analysis, exactly. AI agents are exactly the same. So we look at them really as like they're like engines you have to drop into your business in different areas, but they still need to have all those kind of services plugged in so they actually work and they can interact with your business, your data, and your colleagues, your human resource as well. So there's a bit of work to do there, but once they're sort of fine-tuned, and you continuously fine-tune, that's what we do basically. It's a fully managed service. You continually fine-tune them until your ROI is maximized, and then you just crank them up.
Exactly. Let's keep going. So other ways it could be working out is in terms of, like, imagine you wanted to run an event in your business, like as a promotional event, or you've got a new announcement, you've got a new service, a new subscription, a new membership. Again, the AI can reach out to people that might be interested and potentially like engage them, find out more information, or it could even survey them. Let's just say you've got your top customers and they say, like, would you be open to having a telephone survey so we can do things? They can opt in by email, and then the AI will call them. You give them a gift voucher for it, but you can get lots of very valuable insights from 100 to 500 customers in parallel very quickly with information, depth of what they're looking for in a very good way.
So just on that, so forms, right? We always talk about forms, right? or these surveys you send out, they should be a thing of the past. You can now if you want to say, I'm calling from so and so, say, would you like a call from our AI agent? You can tell them it's an AI agent. They get a phone call and they have quite a realistic conversation, and they're more likely to give you a huge amount of data. Whereas historically, a human has got to go through and make notes and transpose that into a CRM. Whereas in this case, that can all be completely automated. And as I said before, you get a lot more information and the color about that prospect.
I'll tell you something as well. Like behaviorally, voice is a lot more convenient. Like I look at my dad. My dad is like, he's a doctor. He's retired, but he still works part-time creating reports. And he's got like a very good guy that works with him and who's based in Nepal, works remotely with him. And what they've come up with a very nice kind of workflow is my dad makes notes digitally. He transcribes them, records the audio of what he wants and all that kind of stuff, and then it means that the other person can then manage it and work in a much more straightforward way. My dad doesn't like typing, basically, right? It's easier to talk and explain whatever there is. So I can just see it's going to be a lot easier. For example, if someone says like, look,
when you say manager, they're basically uploading it to Claude.
Yeah, no, so
doing 1 hour's work.
The details and everything together, basically. But yeah, so for example, imagine like, so someone says like, okay, I'm going to get a new home extension or whatever like this, or I want something. Brilliant. I'm going to get Rachel to call now, basically, or join us on the call, and she's going to ask questions and make sure everything and then capture all the details. So then you're free and not having to kind of do anything. The AI is talking, even guiding the questions. It'll always ask the same standard 10 questions, so it's always got all the data it needs to. It won't forget.
It'll never miss the upsell, never miss the cross sell.
Correct.
Because it's in a mood or had a bad day, or it's done 50 calls that day and it can't face another 3. It also wants to go home now. You don't have that issue at all. So
Yeah,
let's go through support then, some inbound use cases.
Yeah, just before then, people also forget that weekends and mornings and lunch times can be also better times to reach people, but they don't have the team members work at those times. So the AI can work those times, so you can reach out different people. So let's talk about support now. So imagine, like, for example, you've got somebody answering the phone to take in orders, let's say like a restaurant or like a takeaway or whatever. Like, you could have AI which would be doing first level triage of like finding out, what's the order, what you're looking for. It could even recommend the special every time. It could even say, do you have any dietary requirements, first of all, then only recommend those things. It could even fact check and help people make sure they've got the right things for themselves. So in terms of having the cost structure to answer the phone 24/7 without having a team member taken off from kitchen duty, it can help small businesses be more profitable, basically, in those sorts of ways. So that's one example of support for like a physical establishment. Could even book appointments for people, understand what's kind of going on. But then it can also go into technical support. So imagine, for example, I don't know, lawnmowers, for example, right? It could be that first level support for a company which is like selling something. It could be asking them, what issues have you had? When have you had it? Have you tried this? Are you aware of this? Okay, no problem. I've created all the elements. I'm going to create a ticket internally. One of our team members is going to get back to you. From your perspective, how urgent is it? Oh, it's a 6. I'm making sure I'm putting that down on the system, and then it can go from there. So your ability to handle more support inquiries at a lower cost means that person who was almost finding out about the problem can now be allocated to solving the problem, basically, right? So rather than just being only fully engaged with taking the details of what's going on, they can actually be helping to solve it. So you can actually get more done with less people in a much more positive way for your customers as well.
And I think, and I mentioned it quite a few times, is that I think triage is huge. So if you've got a volume of inbound calls coming in, and that 70% of them are the standard queries that people ask that can often be dealt with by a knowledge base on FAQ.
Where is my order? When is it coming?
Where's my order? What is it? What does this do? How does that work? All of that can be completely automated. And then if there's an issue that you want a human really to interact, it can then be sort of pushed up the sort of food chain really to a human. They can then pick up that call or call that person back or do it live. But what that means though is it makes it I did a post on LinkedIn a few months ago which kind of went a bit viral, is that the concept of a physical call center is completely going away. And I don't mean I said 2026, you can do it today. And at least take out, that 70-80% of the standard calls that you don't really want to be paying a human to deal with.
Exactly. So like, for example, on those ones, right? Like finding out, like what the issue is, how things are, and following up with people. But then you've also got the other examples of, like, let's just say, invoices. You've sent out loads of invoices to all your customers, and many of them haven't paid them, right? You sent an email saying, please, can you pay, or whatever like this, but they've not replied to you. The AI could chase them all up by phone. It could phone them and say, like, hi, I'm calling from, Smith's Joinery, and we've got an outstanding invoice for, £5,000. It was due last week. Can you give me an update on this, basically? I'm telling you right now, the more people see that you're on it, payments will come in much quicker. And for a business which is like striving and trying to get by on cash flow, can make a huge difference, basically, right? So
that's outbound, I suppose. But I guess inbound again, you've got people like, where's my purchase order, all that kind of,
where's my
all that
delivery?
procurement,
So what's your order code? So you can,
HR, onboarding, training.
exactly. So you got other options. So like, for example, where's my order? What's your reference number? Okay, 612212. Okay, great. I'm just looking it up. Okay, I can see with DPD it's scheduled for delivery, but it actually hasn't been picked up yet. If you keep an eye on the DPD thing, you'll be able to see it. Do you know where you can find that on the website? Yes, I know where I can find that. Okay, no problem. I appreciate your patience and all that.
And while you're on the phone, did you know that we're also got this special offer on?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because many companies have been adding those, like, or if you add a membership, or if you add Apple Care, or you add this, or you add the insurance, we can do more. Or did you know that if you were a member, a Prime member, you will get faster delivery or whatever like this, or Insiders Club, all that stuff you can add into it. So that can turn those into kind of like a revenue center as well, basically.
And then customer success, so assisting, onboarding new staff actually as well.
Yeah, so it could even be, for example, depending on, like, let's say you got a business with like lots and lots of contractors, right? And you got lots of new people that are joining you. It could even be like a call for the end of the day, like, how was your first day? How did you find it? Were there any concerns or issues that you have? I'll make sure I can identify those things. You could even have a different agent, which was like onboarding everybody, basically. So once somebody kind of onboards, this is more of a kind of embedded agent. It will then create the email account, do this, do that, all that kind of stuff, whatever's needed to happen, basically. And then the person's like, authorization or access or whatever like this can be automated, or, their identity card can be ordered. All these things can be automated. The point is, we're focusing on high ROI things. So the question is, where are you spending a lot of time, or your people are spending a lot of time, and that's costing you a lot of money? Or it could be document analysis, or it could be different things like this, where AI could automate it and help you get more done quicker and cheaper, basically.
Well, we don't want to completely blow our event on Tuesday by giving it all away. But what we're going to do on Tuesday is talk through some of this in more detail, and other examples actually, and actually share and show you. You can actually hear see how these things work, and actually hear some of these calls as well, and also how humans interact with it. And it's quite interesting. In most cases, the AI is far more, how do I put this, clear than humans who tend to be on the phone kind of mumbling away. So you'll find it absolutely fascinating. I don't know, we need to do some work on the psychology of it, but it's fascinating. And the point here is, like I keep saying, is these are not things you just install like an app in your business. It is like having an recruiting, onboarding, and managing a human to try and get the best out of them. Yeah, exactly. And which is what we do. So we do basically fully managed automation, so intelligent AI automation. So again, if you're in London, Marble Arch, Tuesday, about 6 p.m. You can watch the football afterwards if you want to. Join us at Homegrown. It's just literally a 5-minute walk from Marble Arch. Sign up online. You'll see the links in our various social media posts. We're going to leave it there for today. There are so many different use cases you can use. And again, the more you learn about this technology and how it works, this is why training is quite important, the more you're going to be able to opportunity spot. We're doing quite, generic high level. In most cases, our clients have very specific use cases. Where,
everyone has specific use cases.
Yeah, once they understand the technology, they kind of, no matter what aspects of it, they think, oh, wow, we can actually automate this.
Opportunity in those sectors. Like the few people I'm talking to at the moment, like the best ones, the ones that understand not just the opportunity in their business, but the opportunity in their sector to maybe either partner with or acquire, or go further from there. But listen, great to catch up with you, and we've got Tuesday, and
then of course Be the Business. We'll try and get some information out of that, although that one's sold out. So that's it for this week. If you want an AI of the week, I've been playing with Runway ML. So again, it's been AI of the week before actually, but go to Runway ML, upload an image, type in some text, and it will basically take your image, animate it. So I put a picture of myself, for example. It's my picture for LinkedIn, my profile picture. I put in some text, a short script, and it animates me and syncs my lips to start speaking whatever it is I wanted to say in whatever language. So again, this technology is becoming incredibly powerful. It's kind of that getting into that very easily to access to the deep fake world now. So there are lots of ways you can use that to make your business more real, more personable, and to interact with people. And we're going to try and embed that again into some of our emails. Sign up for our newsletter, the AI Insider newsletter. Please like, subscribe, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen to this. That's it for this week. Hope we've added some value. We'll see you on Tuesday. Alok, enjoy your day. I've got to drive to the Midlands now, so that's my exciting day. Same time, same place next week. This is AI Assisted Organization Podcast. We'll see you then.
See you then.